What's up, people? Welcome to another episode of I Am Negan, a TWD Universe podcast. My name is Adam Vale. I'm a senior editor over at the Koalition.com. And tonight I'm joined by editor-in-chief Richard Bailey Jr. What's up, Rich?
What's up, Adam? What's up, listeners and viewers?
And Throwdowns, Carlos Romero.
Yo, yo, yo. Happy New Year, everyone.
And yeah, there you go. Happy New Year. Yay. Yay. Not so, but if you're a Walking Dead fan, not so much. Not so much. Kind of a sad year. Not just because Walking Dead proper came to a close. We knew that was happening. But the fear. And that's why. So if people are just jumping in real quick, like, what's going on? Why are they doing an episode? Did I miss something? Is something posted already? Well, we're here just to discuss some of the big questions that the community is having because AMC has done a pretty bad job of explaining everything. Like we saw at the final episode of Walking Dead proper, the splash screen, Dead City and Rick and Michonne and Fear the Walking Dead, blah, 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 dead, dead, dead all day long. That's great, but when? And everything was just like 2023, 2023. Oh, well, here we are. So do we have any answers? What's going on? We have a lot of answers. So that's what this is. It's going to be real short, people. We're just going to break down some of the key dates, things that you guys need to know, what's going on with The Walking Dead, and then just know that we're still alive and we're still here. We're still going to be covering it to the very end. It might be sooner than later, depending on how good these shows are. If we go based off of the track record, meaning of Walking Dead shows, it's not great. It's not great. Walking Dead proper, yeah, it's up and down. It's a seesaw, right? Some good seasons, some not so good seasons. But my issue and my concern is the spinoffs. World Beyond, flush it down the toilet, not good. Tales, remember that one? Don't even want to talk about that shit. Don't even talk. That was horrible. That was horrible. But we have to hope for the best for the rest. So before I get really into it, I just want to thank everybody who's stuck with us all these years. We've been covering it, and of course over at the Koalition, all the people that have been sticking with us there. We have a lot of changes happening. If you haven't seen it, we got a new logo. We also have a new gaming channel, Koalition Gaming. You can go check that out over on YouTube. Switch over because we got a lot of content. For those who have been checking this out, they already know. They see all kinds of things on the site. And that's good and bad. There's just a lot going on. So the higher-ups, Gary Swaby and Rich just came up with a good idea of trying to streamline things and put them in different sections of the site so it's easier for people to obtain the content that they're looking for. So that's a good idea. So if you can, it's at thecoalition.com if you haven't been there already, but most of you already have. But go ahead, check it out. See a lot of new stuff going on there. I just wanted to get that out of the way. And again, thank you for everybody that's been following us over on YouTube and on iTunes and on Spotify. It's always funny. And I was telling Rich and the guys over that when the show was over, The Walking Dead, it ended. And then I'll go back and every once in a while I'll see these reports of like the episodes that people are listening to and stuff. And it's like every day it's in the double digits of the last episode. And I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. Why now? Are they just finding out? And I don't know if it was Carlos, if it was you or somebody said, oh, well, because they posted everything on Netflix. It's no longer tied to AMC Plus. Was it you guys? Did anybody here tell me that?
I don't think it was me.
Yeah, it was me. Because
it was you. Okay, Rich. It was Rich, you told me. Okay.
Yeah, Netflix. The entire show is on Netflix.
You see? All right, so there you go. More eyes, because I'm sure Netflix, no surprise, has more subs than AMC Plus, right? So that's great. That's great. And I'm sure a lot of people were like watching this and they're like, I don't know, should I go all the way through? And then poof, they pop up and they find our show. And that's always great. So thanks a lot for all of you guys and for subbing and following and all this. All right. All that housekeeping is done. Let's see. Where should we start? The sad news. The sad news. We saw this. It broke yesterday. Kind of a surprise, but then not. This is going to be the final season of Fear the Walking Dead. That's season 8. It's only going to be 12 episodes. They're cutting it down from the 16. It's going to be 12, and it's broken up into 2 parts. I think they're going to try to do the same type of deal that they did with Walking Dead proper. It's at a 3 to 2, but still, there's going to be a big break in between because the date that they have listed that they announced yesterday is May 14th. And we're going to that's going to be the beginning of 6 episodes for Fear. And then they're going to say a break. They didn't even give another return date, but there will be a break. And then we get back into it for the final 6 episodes. So before we talk about all the other ones, what did you guys think, Rich? We'll start with you, of this news, because you sort of had some insight on this going into this a few months ago, and I was in disbelief. Like, what did you think when it made it official that this is the final season of Fear the Walking Dead?
Well, we saw that there were rumors that the next season would be the final season, and that this was going to be announced sometime in January. So some of that news was correct, but my thoughts on the show ending, my personal thoughts are good riddance.
Whoa!
Because the last
Whoa,
season,
whoa.
last season was pretty disappointing. You know, I
Yeah.
think they had a lot of things
Yeah.
that they did. The previous season was great. That probably was one of the best seasons they've had. But this most recent season, that was very disappointing. You saw certain characters leave the show, and because they got tired of it, but they killed them off. So I'm very curious to know what's going to happen in the final season, because now you can get rid of people and it's over anyway. They so I kind of feel like more people might actually die now going into that final season.
All right. What about you, Carlos? How'd you feel about this news?
Well,
we all know, but tell the people. Tell the people.
as someone that isn't caught up with Fear, I've only watched like the first 3 seasons, I think 3-4 seasons. So I wasn't on the previous shows because I haven't been caught up yet, and I was eager to catch up in my own way. But thinking like you guys that this show would have, at least Adam, this show would have come pretty soon in 2023, not in the way that it's being presented. And now the fact that it's going to end with the final with this final season, I think season 8.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't have too many thoughts, as just it looks like they're doing sort of the similar thing with The Walking Dead proper. They're just trying to shut it down, put an emphasis on the other spin-off shows, the spin-offs of the spin-offs now. It looks so yeah, Walking Dead proper is dead. World Beyond probably dead. Tales of the Walking Dead, I hope it's dead. Fear, it's gonna die, and now they're just putting all their focus on their flagship characters. And one thing to take into account with this final season is to see who makes it out and who is going to be part of whatever, whether it be new spinoffs or whether it be the spinoffs that are already announced. Where are they going to fit in? Because they're sure as hell going to keep that talent.
Yeah, and then there you go. Because it's a weird feeling that I have with all of this, because as you discussed, Rich, remember when the first part of the season, before they took a break, we were kind of hyped. We're like, oh, wow, this is post-nuke, right? Carlos' running joke on Throwdown was like, the nuke. And it was cool, because like, here we go, walking around, there's radiation, and you got to wear the suits, the hazmats, they're always checking the radiation level, wherever they're at. And then when they came back from the break, they threw all that out the window. Right? It was like, oh, it's radiation, not that bad. Take your suit off. Here we go. And they just played it down. It just went in a totally different direction, and it was a big letdown. And then with the big with Alicia leaving, the actress plays Alicia leaving the show, and a lot of people were upset about that. I don't know why. I was never really that big of a fan. I would think the big deal for me would be if Morgan was to leave the show, if that actor was to leave, but that's not the case. It didn't happen. We got Madison. She returned, but it looks like she returned just for the final season. So who knows? Maybe that was part of the agreement. She's like, I don't want to keep doing this show. Don't. Well, this is our last year. Just come back for this, and then we're done. Oh, okay. Who knows? I'm sure they had this idea for a while. When it comes to characters dying, though, I'm not sure if we're going to get that. I don't want to make it sound morbid, like that payout of like, oh, we're going to see mass deaths and this and that. We didn't see that in Walking Dead proper, right? That was the thing. Everybody was like, oh, but Rosita, okay. And that was by her choice. The writers didn't even have her listed as someone that was going to die in that final season. So I'm not expecting that. What my big question is, like, I think because of the budget of The Walking Dead and just the cast and then all the stuff, that there's always going to be a Walking Dead show. That's just my opinion. I think there's always going to be one. This is going to be one of those type of shows that can just keep going. They can just grab 2 or 3 cast members, put them in the woods somewhere, and get a few extras in zombie suits, and there you go. You got yourself a show. So I'm sad to see this go, just because it's been part of our lives for so long. At least Rich and I's life, so it's 8 seasons. It's a long time, and it made it. I know when it first started, a lot of people were instantly writing it off. They was like, "Come on, more Walking Dead? Like, isn't this enough?" And at the time, Walking Dead proper was still going pretty strong. And like, why do we need another one? What can you possibly do? And they listened to the crowd, that, and especially the community and the Reddits that were saying, "Oh, what if they were on an island, or what if they took over a hotel, or what if all these ideas that people were tossing out actually became episodes?" And I was like, "Oh, now they are in that hotel you were talking. Oh, if you were on a little island and you thought you could survive, well, we put them on an island. Let's see if they could." All walkers were just walking up on it from the ocean. It was amazing. They did a lot of those type of things, which was great. But then it seemed like they were just, I don't know, maybe running out of ideas toward the end, or it's just Walking Dead fatigue. The numbers started dropping. People weren't watching. Cast members were leaving, and at a rapid pace. And I forgot what's in season 5 or 6. We had 2 or 3 big ones just leave. And there's only so much you can handle, a show can handle, when it comes to that type of quick turnaround, especially with beloved characters. And I still, to this day, I feel that Walking Dead would have had stronger numbers. The mothership would have had stronger numbers if they didn't go the route of the comics with Glenn's death. I think if they would have kept him alive, when it comes to the casuals, they would have stuck around longer. Because remember, there was such a backlash and an uproar. "Oh, how dare they kill him? They know we love him." People were taking it a step further. "They killed the only Asian that matters on TV." The whole thing, not knowing that this was written years ago in the comic. This is how it went down. So it's gonna be sad. I hope that I hope it just is entertaining. That's it. I don't think a lot of them are gonna die. I think some of the key ones, like Morgan and maybe Madison and Victor. I think Victor, he should have died a few seasons back. I mean, this guy, so many times, it just makes no sense. They put him in all these ridiculous roles, and he still lives.
I hope that with these new spin-offs, they just put in, just put in the effort to make these good shows. Don't, with The Walking Dead, they got too satisfied with milking the hell out of that formula that they had. That I felt like they didn't even try to make this like the original programming that we're kind of used to from that golden age of AMC, with Mad Men and Breaking Bad, and then Better Call Saul came after. And there's a couple of other shows that are really good that a lot of people, didn't really watch, like those other big shows. But The Walking Dead was part of the flagship of AMC, and it was part of that generation as well when it came out. And oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, because it just tying it. It's funny that you bring that up, because that's what Gimple said, the head writer of the whole project, in a recent interview about the whole process, is that they wanted to make it more concentrated with these spin-offs, which is why they're not going big on the scale of what they would consider Walking Dead, meaning with the cast and all that. They're really condensing it so they can focus more on well put stories and just more concentrated, so people can be more focused and more engaged. And so you can keep going with it.
And it's not only just because of that pedigree that AMC themselves established, but the fact that they have this Goliath coming in this Sunday. That's a show that's going to start, that it has to do with a zombie apocalypse. It's called The Last of Us. The Last of Us is an HBO show that is, if AMC has a track record, HBO has a ridiculous track record with really quality original programming. I mean, The Last of Us isn't really original, since they're getting it from an adaptation, but yeah, The Last of Us is going to be, if it's as good as a lot of people who are talking about in the previews, it's going to take a lot of the attention. Before, The Walking Dead was the only game in town in terms of television, in terms of big viewing television, and now they're going to have competition, and now they're introducing the spin-offs along with that. So hopefully The Last of Us isn't the only thing that overtakes the conversation in that type of genre. Hopefully, these new spinoffs, Dead City, the Rick and Michonne show, and Daryl Dixon, hopefully they do something that's unique, that's good, that's original, that that makes it compete with that type of show, because we know that the Last of Us TV show is going to be a big hit. I mean, at this point, I feel like it's a guarantee. Hopefully, The Walking Dead and their legacy can counter that in a way, counterbalance.
Well, the one thing that they all have in common, and that they're all going to have trouble, including The Last of Us, is if it's true, what they're trying to figure out, all the networks, is there not just a zombie fatigue, but just a dark themed future for humanity theme. If that's too much, because I don't know if you watched, or I'm sure some of the listener viewers, Station 11 that aired on HBO, really dark, right? That was dark, and they put that on the shelf for like a year, because when it was done is just when COVID started hitting, and it takes place in New York early on. There was a pandemic, all this craziness happened, and it was too soon. It was too soon to release it, but they released it eventually, and from what I understand, it didn't get the numbers. It got the critics loved it. I loved it. It was the writing is based off of a novel. It was fantastic. The acting, everything was great about it. But the one thing that I noticed when I would watch certain people that were reviewing the show on YouTube and stuff in the comments, it was like, "Oh, this sounds great, but I'm just mentally not there," or "I live in this community. I lost people recently due to COVID. I just can't watch something this dark right now." And it's still a thing. COVID is still a thing. People are still dealing with people that have passed in their life. And to say, all right, here's another very dark show, and that's with The Last of Us. And we know it's going to be more gory for sure, because it's HBO and they can pull all the stops on that. But will people jump in? Are they ready now to jump into a dark future of something like this? So just the apocalypse and everything is horrible. There's even more horrible things happening, and people mutating and all kinds of things. And you're bringing children into the picture. It's really focused on that. I don't know. We'll find out. The ratings will tell the story, because whenever the numbers were going down for Walking Dead, as for the past one, and of course with fears of, it's Walking Dead fatigue. People are tired of that. I was like, okay, but even with all of that, the numbers weren't great for the final season. You would think a lot of people would return to see the final season, but I think reality was too close to home to what we were seeing on screen, and people just didn't want that. So we'll see if that comes up, because besides The Last of Us, and like you said, we were here to discuss, there's a lot more Walking Dead shows coming out. And they need the views. If they don't get the views, then the whole thing is dead. And this could be a turning point for this genre as a whole, with zombies and just craziness going on with survival. So I don't know. Rich, are you excited for the Last of Us? Like, do you think that this is going to be the replacement that people are looking for solid Walking Dead content?
That is a great question. Here's the thing. I saw the scores that the show has been getting, and I know that the critics a lot of times will praise things. Sometimes they are right, and other times they are wrong. I do believe this show, I am interested in it, specifically from the standpoint as someone who played the video game. I want to see how much of that they capture in the show, because I've already seen reports about some stuff that will not be in the show. So that's what I am curious to see. But to answer
real quick, Rich, I just because I want a question with this, because I also played the game, but is this based off the game, or is this a new story because of that space between 1 and 2, or is this a retelling of 1?
They said it's a adaptation of the first game, and I believe they said the entire first season is supposed to be the first game. Season 2 is going to be the second game. So that makes me curious, but I don't know how that's going to work. So I guess we have to wait until Sunday when it starts.
Well, Rich, and and anybody listening and watching, if they stick to the opening 20 minutes of The Last of Us 1, right? The daughter and all that. If they stick with that in the first episode of The Last of Us, the show, that's it. I think that's going to tell everybody what to expect, because that was impactful. That was a very impactful 20-30 minutes of an opening of any game. But yeah, continue. That was.
Oh no, I agree. So, but to answer the question, I am going to check it out. We'll see how it is. Do I think it? I think obviously a lot of people are going to be intrigued because it's something different in terms of, not the concept is different. It's just that, because it's popular, because it's the Sony franchise, people are going to want to see what this show is like. And then, of course, the cast as well. Pedro Pascal. That's definitely a reason to watch it right there.
Yeah, the Mandalorian people. Mandalorian.
And the actress that is in Game of Thrones, and I must confess, I do not remember her character for Game of Thrones, so I definitely looking forward to seeing that. Because
who's this again?
Does she play Ellie? She plays
Ellie. Yeah, she's the little bear. She's the Mormont. I forgot her first name.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's one of the rulers.
To it.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, hopefully, but it's going to be people interested in it, so they will definitely, at least that first week. So we'll see how it does from there.
And I think we talked about, we're probably going to cover some of those episodes, right, over at the site. So we'll cover that. So people, if you're interested, it's all dead and zombie and all that stuff related. So if you're interested, check us out on that. But let's get to that. All right. So there goes that. Fear. We're sad. 2 parts. May 14th. Mark your calendar. That's when it starts. 6 episodes. Boom. But before that, Dead City airs in April. They don't have a definite date, but it's April. But we do have more insight on the story. I don't know if you guys saw this, but they went into depth also yesterday about what's going on. So it takes place a few years after Walking Dead proper, and Herschel, Maggie's son, is missing. They don't go into detail, but why is he missing in New York? I don't know. But this is why Maggie goes and she needs help, and she gets Negan, and they go on this adventure. They said that it really is just focused on the 2 of them when it comes to returning cast members. They didn't want to give too much away, but they said that they do have some new cast members, 2 members that the people they interact with. But when it comes to the notable ones, it's just going to be Maggie and Negan. And the main plot is that they're looking for Herschel in New York City. So that's in April. Well, all right, Rich, you look like you got something to say. You got some words. What you got?
So now, after hearing this news, I just have to say, this is why we needed a better ending to that story on the regular Walking Dead show, because there was no indication that they were going to go to the same place. You could have even had a conversation between Negan and Maggie at the end. They say, we need to go look for another area to start over. That would have been fine, but they didn't go in that direction. So I hope that, to go to what Carlos said earlier about, you hope that that the Fear show is somewhat decent. I personally hope that they can remain consistent with the storytelling, because one thing I will say about Fear real quickly is that Morgan last season, you recall, he said, I need to get back to those people that I left behind. So I'm expecting his story to end with their final season, with him reuniting with the people that are in Alexandria or whatever. I would hope that's what's going to happen, but I don't know. And that's why I say I hope they are consistent. And going to the spinoff here, I know they want to start in a new area, so I'm curious about that. But I don't really understand. There's a lot more they got to explain. And of course, what happened to Negan's wife? What happened to Negan, having the child? All of that has to be answered for sure.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll be answered, but it'll be answered in passing. Maybe he just brings it up. This is my guess. This is my guess of what I think is going to happen. Maggie's already going to be in New York. She's looking for her son or something. And then all of a sudden Negan shows up. It's like, what are you doing here? Well, they said you needed help, and I'm here, and my wife is okay with the kid. They're back over at wherever, if they're still over at the Commonwealth or Alexandria, who knows where. And that's it. I don't know because remember at the end of the Walking Dead proper, when she tells Daryl, it's time to go. We know he leaves. He gets on his bike. They show it. He takes off. He doesn't travel with her, but she's leaving also. she's making it known. And then we do see that one scene with Daryl from I think it was Daryl looking out the window, and you see Negan with his backpack, and he starts walking off. So I guess they were setting it up. That was their way of saying that they all went on their own. Don't tell me, I swear, if this opens up in the first episode that they just, happen to bump into each other in Manhattan, that's ridiculous. Oh no. Don't tell me that's how this goes down. No, that'd be horrible. And we know they don't have cell phones or anything. And walkie-talkies, I'm sorry, they're good, but they're not that good to reach from DC to Manhattan.
What, yo, Maggie, welcome to the city. Have you heard of Negan Fireborough?
Exactly. Hey, let's go down to Ray's Pizza. Let's go get a slice. Bump into some turtles. Let's go do this. Yeah, no. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Now, they actually did go on location, so this isn't like a Hollywood Manhattan Beach type of deal where they're all in front of a blue screen. I'm sure there's some of that, but they said they were on site, I should say.
I do have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you guys think Princess is going to be part of this? Because she is actually from New York.
Yeah, she's from the Bronx. Represent. No, they didn't mention her. They did not mention her, and they said this is really focused when it comes to main characters. They said main characters. Would you consider Princess a main character?
I mean, she's a recurring character.
Exactly. All right. Well, so maybe she could sneak in there. Yeah, maybe. But I don't see how she fits. Yes, in real life location. But remember, in the story, that's not where she's from. She was from wherever they were. I forgot what part of town that they were in. That they explained it, but where they picked her up, that's definitely was in New York. And she said, that's where she grew up. And that's
was it like? Was it in Atlanta?
It was a city. Was it Atlanta? It was definitely a city. It was a city area. It was a city area, and that's where she was. I'm blanking on it now, but go ahead, people. You can correct this. Put it in the comments over on YouTube, if you remember that. But definitely that. So the news, at least we know it's April. Okay, so we what we first thought was Fear was going to hit first. Now that's not the case. We got this, and I'm assuming there's going to be some crossover. From what I understand, the way they described it is only 6 episodes. This is 6 episodes, and this isn't a mini series. This has the potential to continue on if there's an interest. One of those situations. It's no different than what we saw with Tales of the Walking Dead. It's like throwing a bunch of things at the wall, see what sticks, and this is one of them. Are people interested in seeing a Daryl and Maggie in New York? I don't know. What's up, Rich?
So I have a quick question for you two, as well as the people who are watching this video and comment. Which of these 3 spinoffs do you think is most likely to be the first one to get canceled, if it does get canceled?
Well, which you mean there's 4? Remember?
The 4 one, yeah.
Because we got Daryl. We got the Daryl one.
Yep.
Wait, I thought it was 3. So I was including Daryl.
No, well, if we count, we know Fear. I was counting.
Fear doesn't count.
It's already coming to an end.
It's
Fear is
done.
over. Yeah, Fear is over. All right. So if we don't care, all right. If we don't care that, the first to go. Oh, wow, that's tricky. I would probably think the first to go would be this one, The Dead City. And I'm just going based off of fan interest. I don't know a lot of people that care about Maggie as a character. Yes, she's big in the story, and we love Negan, but we love Negan as Negan, and we don't have that version. They neutered the Negan that we know, in this past season. This is not the same thing. I don't know. This is just regular dude Negan. This isn't not the leader or the saviors. No. So the reason why I would say Daryl, but Daryl has a following. There's a huge fan base. People love Daryl. They love him not just from this world, but they love him from the gaming world with Death Stranding. He's crossing over into that. So people that are even fans of his work in that game will then definitely tune in just to see him. And I'm sure his boy over at Kojima would definitely start promoting the hell out of that show when it airs. So I think that might stick around, and that's also a little interesting because it's in a really different location. It's a completely different country. It's over in France, so people may tune in for that as well. And then the Rick and Michonne. People love Rick and people love Michonne. That to most people, like that's it. That's the only two that matter, and that's what they want to see. They want to follow those characters. They love those characters, and that's why they're getting their own show. They could have easily just sprinkled them with something else and called it something else, but no. From what we understand, it is going to be called Rick and Michonne. I mean, they keep calling it that, so unless they change it, like what was it? What was Dead City before? It was called Dead Island. That was
Dead
it.
Island or something
So
like that.
it was Dead Island. So it wasn't too far. Or Island of the Dead. That's it.
Isle of the Dead.
Isle of the Dead. There you go.
Yep.
So I don't know.
I have the answer.
Yep.
To Rich's question, which is
Yes,
definitely going to be the Rick and Michonne show. For one reason and one reason only. We've lost them once for contractual stuff. We'll do it again. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of this stuff is like, I feel like it's very limited in what they can do. I don't even want to say that. I feel like it's, the Rick and Michonne stuff definitely have a story to like. I feel like that's the more we have to tell a story kind of thing, because the Daryl and Dead City show, I feel like it's more of like, okay, let's follow Daryl through the UK, or let's have Negan and Maggie go through adventures and have that sexual tension that they had the last couple of seasons. The whole thing with Rick and Michonne, I feel like it's more like this exists because they feel like there's a story they need to conclude. And obviously one of my biggest issues with the last season of The Walking Dead proper was none of the Rick and Michonne stuff got resolved. In particular with what's her name? With the daughter.
Judith?
With Judith.
Mm-hmm.
With Judith, and I would mention Rick Jr., but Rick Jr. at this point is an afterthought, even for Rick and Michonne.
And for the main show. No one cared. They didn't even care.
Yeah, they barely showed him.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I feel like they have a story. They have more of a concrete story they would want to tell for Rick and Michonne, because they are, they've been MIA for years now. And number two, Rick and Michonne are probably the two biggest, the heaviest hitters. I don't know where Daryl stands in that hierarchy. Maybe he's.
I think at this point, I'm thinking he surpasses them just because he's been on the show longer and doing other projects that are more relevant. I'm not going to lie. Michonne, the whole thing with I'm blanking on the actress's name, but doing Black Panther and stuff.
What's her name? Yeah. So she's doing movies. She's doing other TV. Rick does movies and other TV. So I'm pretty sure they really want, they don't want to be in this for the long run, because they've already been through that grind and they left and the show suffered because of that. The show suffered because they left for whatever they wanted to do. It was
too much going on, too many cast members leaving. Here it is, they introduce it, like you just mentioned, the RJ. They have a little baby, them jumps into here, and next Mama's gone. She's got to go. It's just too much.
Yeah, so I think they're gonna show up for their season or two just to tell the story that what happened with them and them reuniting finally with Judith, and I feel like that's where their story is going to end. The other two shows, I feel like it's just going to be, let's see how far we can get this through, with however many adventures we want to tell. Because Daryl looks like he's like a Walking Dead lifer.
Oh yeah. Norman Reedus even said that he loves it. He loves it. So.
Maggie does too, because she left and came back. So she was like, it's like, all right, let me try something else. All right, it didn't work out. Let me go back to this. Negan is a little bit more.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan's doing The Boys next season.
Yeah, so Jeffrey Dean Morgan is a little bit more ambiguous to see how he is, but I mean he's been in the show since he started. So Who knows?
Well, the one thing you don't have to worry about is that I think that Rick Michonne is going to be a while, because that's not coming out until 2024. That's not in 2023. So if one of these other ones, all of them are coming out. Even we didn't get into it, but there's not much, and that was the last one, which is the Daryl show, which we know he's been filming if it hasn't already, but they have no date. They just said that it will premiere, and I'm sure we'll find out more either during the time that Dead City is airing or when Fear, because there is going to be some blending in, and I'm sure they don't want everything crammed up together. They want to like space them out. That's what they've been doing with all their Walking Dead content, at least before they were. And for them to say that they're going to split up Fear to 2 parts, the 6 episodes and another, well, what's going to fill that time period of no Fear? Well, then it might be the Daryl's experience. What's going on with him? And with that Rick Michonne, yeah, like you said, I'm not excited for it. I'm really not, because all right, well, she goes and she finds him. Then what? Are we going to get the proper ending of The Walking Dead within the Rick and Michonne? Because it has to be them going to the Commonwealth and reuniting with RJ and Judith, and the happy ending, right? That's it. They haven't said if it's a one-off, if it's a 1 season and they're done. Do both of you guys think it's only going to be 1 season for the Rick and Michonne?
I feel like it's all of these spin-offs are wait and see.
Yeah, definitely.
Go ahead, Rich.
Oh no, go ahead. I'll go after you.
Oh no, that's pretty much what I was gonna say.
Oh well, I just was gonna say I do think that the main point is that they all are going to tell they have a story to tell with Rick and Michonne. At least from what we've seen on how they had it on The Walking Dead, it looks like their story is just going to be them reuniting together. I don't know if they're going to go the distance of, okay, now they come back together. Now they need to go and find Judith, because that should probably be a 2nd season, or if that is the goal here, because it looks as though the show is going to be just about, like you said, Rick and Michonne finding each other and going from there. But it kind of feels like that story that can only be the 1 season, and the show could end after that. Yeah, I understand that. So we have to see what happens. But yeah, with Daryl, Negan, and Maggie, you're following what happens to them next. So I kind of feel like that can go in any direction. They're just going to see how it does in terms of viewership, and then they'll probably make a decision from there, because they don't really have anything else going on in terms of The Walking Dead. They do have a ton of other shows on AMC, but these are their main bread and butter for Walking Dead type shows. So we have to see.
Was it the Anne Rice series just started, that Mayfair Witches? I think that's the other.
And they had interview with the vampire. That was last year.
Interview. Yep.
So, and that got renewed for another season. So,
Gangs of London.
They got some stuff.
That was a BBC one that they poured over. That was brutal. Well, people, if you're not watching that, or if you haven't, definitely watch that. That is a John Wick the show. Oh boy, they get gory. Oh man, but it was fun, especially the first season. One of the best seasons of any show I've watched last year. That was actually, I was preaching that show to everybody. Like, you gotta watch this. Like, Gangs of London. What is this? Is this a Guy Ritchie project? I'm like, no, this is legit. Watch this. This is fun. So there you go. So real quick, then we'll just say it. Fear the Walking Dead, that's in May 14th. April, no exact date, but April, Dead City. So let's push that in front of it. We have the Daryl show, which is definitely confirmed to premiere sometime in 2023. I'm assuming we'll start hearing more about that in between the 2 shows. And with the Rick and Michonne going into 2024. And that is a lot of Walking Dead content. There is definitely a lot. How much of it is going to be quality, worth watching? Yes, we have The Last of Us that's going to be there, but I don't really think that's going to bite into the audience so much. I think people that are into The Walking Dead, and if they're into just zombies in general, will watch it regardless, because it's like, oh, well, that's the genre we like, so we'll watch it. Like I mentioned earlier in the opening with all this, it's like the question now is this too much, especially with what has been taking place in the real world with wars and plagues and all kinds of. Do people want to watch this type of dark programming now, or do they want comedies? They just want uplifter and Marvel movies and all that. We'll find out. We will find out. We definitely know they like fantasy because I think that was it House of the Dragon did great numbers, and even over on Amazon they said the Lord of the Rings one did pretty good numbers as well. Even though some critics were like, "Oh, it's not canon," blah blah blah. They're changing things up, blah blah blah. But still, it's entertaining, and that's what people want. They want to see elves running around with dwarves and all that stuff, and it got the job done. So. I think that's pretty much it. The whole point of this episode was just to clear some things up, and so that way we're all on the same page. And you, as the followers and the listeners, for how many years you've been covering this, know that this is what's happening. Yes, Walking Dead is done. We just found out Fear is coming to a close, but there's plenty of other things in the pipeline, and some of them are coming sooner than later. So, in closing, Rich, anything you want to say to the people?
Oh no, thank you for your continued support. I can't for sure say that I have a lot of faith that all these Walking Dead shows are going to be good, but hey, we'll see. We shall see. But yes, thank you for your continued support. Please do leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts on all these upcoming shows, and stay tuned for our coverage on the stuff in the future.
All right, Carlos.
Yeah, I mean, we still have a couple of months to go before we actually get some content. So hopefully, whenever we get to that point, it's some quality content that we can all discuss together, not only between us ourselves, but with the audience, and a lot of the reasons why we do this is because we kind of we're wishful thinking that we can get back to somehow the glory days of when we love this show and this series, and hopefully some of that magic is attained through. I mean, they got 3 attempts.
Yeah, exactly.
they got 3 attempts to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully one of them hits. Hopefully the Fear of the Walking Dead ends well. It's the final season. So yeah, appreciate everyone that watches, everyone that comments, everyone on all the apps, the Spotify's, the YouTubes, on that listens. Hopefully 2023 is a good year for The Walking Dead.
Yeah, and you could also send this message over on the Koalition at the Instagram, and of course on Twitter. So if that's where you want to follow us and send stuff, go ahead, do it that way, and then you'll see what's going on with us, and then we could all discuss the future, and hopefully the future is bright for this wonderful IP. I enjoyed The Walking Dead. I'm thrilled that we have so much content. I hope the quality is up to par, but I'm just glad that they're still going with it. And it was just not like, oh, well, we tried, that's done. We had a good run, 12 season. All right, whatever. What about this one? Oh, yeah, that's good. All right, well, we're done. No, they're still going with it. And they're bringing them to new locations. Now, hopefully it works out. All right, thanks a lot, people. And we will be back in April for Dead City. All right, peace.